So what I'm going to talk about today is mechanisms of making it work, making your design process work. Now, my perspective comes from a business perspective, and so my experience in design is related to entrepreneurship and how design relates to that. Those of you who are engineers, design is a big component of engineering. In art, design has a huge role. So there's a lot of very different fields that are using the design process, and so I think it's something that's very important for us to understand in the fields that you guys are studying. So here's a quote from Jeff Bezos, who's founder and CEO of Amazon. He says, "Experiments are key to innovation because they rarely turn out as you expect, and you learn so much." And so Jeff Bezos, when he began Amazon, had started with different experiments and said, what kind of business am I going to start here? He had read this article that said, the internet is growing at 2,300% monthly, and he said, oh, well, obviously this is where the business that I need to start here, so what should I do? And so he looked at the top 20 catalogs that were out there, because he thought, well, start with that, because they are obviously selling things where you don't actually see it in person, right? And so he started looking at that. But the top 20 books weren't part of it, right? Because that's where Amazon ended up starting, was with books, selling books. But he had this hunch that, well, maybe books would be something that we should look at. And he thought, well, probably the reason why one of the top 20 catalogs is not books is because there's such a big selection that to have a catalog of books ends up being this big, heavy thing that you would have to pay for it to deliver to potential customers. Obviously, online, having an online catalog would be a much cheaper thing to do, and it'd be easier to ship out books that way. And so, sure enough, that's how he ended up starting with that experiment, with that hypothesis that, hey, this might work. Of course, he didn't end up really start making profit until years later, and then of course ended up building this infrastructure that then he's basically selling everything, and in particular cloud storage is a big part of the business now. So experiments is important here in getting your project going and solving problems and creating new products and services, and which is what you guys are doing with your project. So an experiment is how you prove or disprove the validity of some idea, right? And a hypothesis is that question that you were asking that you want to study. And so it's important in your projects, as you guys are designing products or ideas, that you use a process that makes use of this. So scientific inquiry is based on this. The idea of asking lots of questions, forming hypotheses, testing those hypotheses, and conducting the research, and then looking at the results here. Now, you want to think like a scientist, but you don't necessarily want to act like one. So you don't necessarily need the rigor of research that, for instance, Dr. Romo uses with her nuclear research, right? That's a whole different level of looking at things. You guys are looking at it in kind of what would be a quick, cheap way of testing different ideas and hypotheses, getting it down there. You've got a time crunch, right? So all of those things are using kind of the basic idea of the scientific. So here's an example of what happened with Subway, right? You guys are all familiar with the $5 footlong, right? Well, this started as a hypothesis that they said, well, let's create something that's simple, that's sounds good, right? $5 foot long, it's got alliteration, right? $5 foot long. And it's easy to remember, just $5, it's attractive because they're trying to compete with other fast food places. And so they started with an experiment. Well, let's take a few stores and a few locations that are representative of where our stores are, and we decided, well, let's test this. Because one of the things that they were worried about was, if we offer $5 foot long, is this going to eat into our other more expensive sandwiches? And that's a big concern, right? We wouldn't want to do this if, in fact, everybody's going to just buy these $5 foot longs, and that's all that's going to happen. But sure enough, what happened in these stores is overall sales grew. So yes, they got people in to buy these $5 foot longs, but they only offer those in certain sandwiches, right? But people were going in to buy all these other things too. So, and people would come in with groups, right? So somebody might buy a $5 foot long, but other people would say, I don't really want that whole combo. I want to have, the whatever else is the more expensive sandwich. And so they found, this is worthwhile. So even if that experiment had failed, it would still have given them some good information, right? It would still have produced some questions for them. Okay, well, why is it that people won't buy our more expensive sandwiches? Why is it? Maybe there's a different kind of sandwich that we need to promote as the $5 foot. And so that would be how we do it. So there would still be value in this. So it's not that you have to come up with successful hypotheses, because every hypothesis and experiment gives you that information and goes into what the next design of what you're going to do is. Okay? So, now let's go to the next one. So what we say an experiment is all about. You start with your stakeholders. You guys already have that as one of the sections in your report, right? Making sure that you know who the people are that are important that your product will touch. And then you ask lots of questions. Again, taking my sentence, but don't act like one. And then using what you've learned for what you're going to do next, right? You have iterations. Tracking your data, that's what you do with your design notebooks, right? Making sure that you write down what the results were, keep this cheap, making sure that you continue to interact with stakeholders. So once you learn something, you go back to your stakeholders and find out, well, how did this work? And then pay attention to all of this data and what it is actually telling you. So here's 3 different ways of doing experiments. And this is something that is good for general business ideas as well, if you're going to start a company or whatever. But it's something that you can try with your project as well. So try out new experiences. Right? You guys did the disability simulation. Right? That was trying out a new experience to give you some empathy for maybe what those people go through if you were going to design a product. Think about with what kind of product the soccer goals. I guess you look at, well, what is that? What is the experience like for the workers who have to put it away? Or what is the experience like for those who have to use it? Right? If you create something that folds up, well, when you're actually using the soccer goal, does it collapse back down? Right? Is there something that shows you that it works over time? With the coffee shop line, instead of just experiencing what the user, the people in line do, maybe they need to look behind the counter and and observe what's going on back there, because that might give them more insight. For those of you who are making some products, some designs, taking some things apart, looking at what has been done before, taking it all apart, right? That's an engineering thing to do, right? And maybe backward design or decide, this is something that we need, and this is something that we want to keep, right? And then all of you will be doing some type of a prototype, something that is physical in nature, something that shows you what it might look like, or that informs how you might address the problem. And so each of these are different ways of doing these kinds of experiments. Another technique for coming to understand what might be hypotheses and maybe showing what your experiment is something called storyboarding. Okay, storyboarding kind of came about through Disney, right? This idea of how do you create an animation, and how do you tell a particular story, and all movies use this now, and entrepreneurs use this, and all kinds of designers use storyboarding now to get at how do you visualize a particular process. And so it's about using drawing to make something come to life. And the idea here is that storyboarding tends to be more engaging than some things, right? You're not just looking at text. You somehow process it differently. It seems to be simpler to actually use and to understand what's actually happening. It can communicate different positions easier. The idea that, okay, a picture is worth 1,000 words, right? It's cheap, it's easy to do, and when you see it, you start to then create more hypotheses, and it gets you asking, what's next? What questions do I have about this? So here's one framework for doing a storyboard. So this would be to start with your problem, which is what you guys are doing with your project. Start with your problem. So what problem is your customer actually experiencing? And so you can write a visual image of that. Then you show the solution. So what are you offering as a solution to that problem? Maybe you haven't started exactly thinking about that, or if you have, maybe you've got a bunch of different. And then you show what the benefit is to the stakeholders. And so it might be multiple benefits, right? So this is what it might look like. So this is a storyboard technique called a quadrant. So you just use a quadrant. You just break across, and you do 4 stories. And so with this, you start with the problem. So this is an example on how to boost student engagement. Okay, this is something that was done at Babson College. Babson College is in Boston, and it's an entrepreneurship-focused school. And so they said, oh, the problem, okay, you see the professor in front of the class, somebody's sleeping, texting, and kind of a frustrated professor, how do I get, my ideas across, right? Then the solution is in 2 frames here. The solution is, the college come up with $3,000 to give to students to great businesses. And what they do is they end up interacting with, they organize themselves and interact with the community, and they do some action learning, and they present their results, and then the benefit then is, here's the benefit. Happy people here, looks like happy students, happy faculty, and then some money that is made from this business goes back to the college, and then goes rest to charity. Okay, so there's kind of that look at stating the problem, saying solution in 2 different visuals, and then showing the benefit at the So after you see this, it starts to create different questions, right? One is, okay, well, would the college actually give students $3,000 to do? You guys get $250 here. Notice it's a similar thing, right? You guys get $250. So what happens if money's lost? Can't be paid? It's an issue. Right? What about size of business teams? Right? What should the size be? It's too big. You don't have enough to do. It's too small. Maybe you're overwhelmed. Right? Do the students really want to participate? Right? How about faculty? What type of faculty? Can any faculty teach this? They're used to just, sage on the stage, lecturing. Are they able to actually handle interacting with the team? Well, how should students be graded? Right? Is it just all team, or is it individual too? What content needs to be involved with this? Is this best for first years or for seniors? Right? So all these kinds of questions. And really, these are all questions we've designed with this particular class in mind too, if you pay attention. So what I'd like us to do is to create a storyboard for your team. So there's some paper in the middle here. Take a sheet, each of you take a sheet and create a quadrant, okay? And I want you to do what this is all about. So think about what's your problem, like what's the user problem, show it visually, and then two other quadrants show what is your solution. So you might come up with different solutions because maybe you haven't actually brainstormed this yet. Right? So this is a form of brainstorming. And then show visually what is that benefit. So do something like this. You can use stick figures or whatever you could use to get across what you're trying to say here. Maybe here you've got smiley faces on certain users, or maybe it's is it a financial thing that's important, or is it that what is it important? So let me give you a few minutes to do 4 quadrants. And each of you do your own thing, and when you're done, I'm going to want you to kind of share that with each other. So you're going to see that maybe you're going to converge on a number of things, but maybe you'll diverge on some other things, especially maybe with the solution if you haven't started thinking about that. Okay, so now what I want you to do is grab another sheet of paper. I want you to fold it 3 times in half, okay? So you can fold it in half like this. It doesn't matter which way you fold it. Just fold it in half a second time, and fold it in half a third time. Okay? What that's going to give you is creases so that you have 8 spaces. So this is a technique called crazy 8s. Okay? The idea is that you take a solution, an idea, basically. Some of your solutions are like hypotheses, right? Or kind of descriptions of little experiments that you might try. And some are further along, right? And so what I want you to do is to take one idea. You know, you decide to do the same one. You can take your own idea, or you can take somebody else's idea from the storyboard, okay? Or you can take a whole other idea, right? And then you'll do this when I tell you to. We're going to take 40 seconds for each of these, and you're going to create a visualization. 8 visualizations. So it'll take 5 minutes, okay? 5 minutes of focus to create 8 iterations. So you take one idea, you draw it in one box. Then when 40 seconds are up, I say, move to the next box. And then you try to think of this idea in a different way. So, for instance, with the scuff pad, you might start with one idea with material. Maybe you're thinking, I don't know, what, metal or something. And then you think of, you create it with styrofoam. Then you create it with felt. And then you know what, I don't want to steal your thunder, but you think of it in, so maybe you're going to think of it in materials, and then you're going to think of it in another way as well. And so, same with you guys. Maybe you guys start with the idea of having a pocket map, and you draw what that might look like, and then you draw another iteration of what it might look like and include, and another one that what it might include, another one what it might include. The idea is to take an idea and iterate on it to kind of fully flush it out. Okay? So we're going to give you 40 seconds, and I've got a timer here. So usually I have people do this again, okay, but we're not going to do that today. But this is something that you should maybe think about doing another time that you're meeting, just to get more things going. I mean, think about that, right? You guys get together, it's 8 times however many people are sitting there in terms of ideas, and some of them might converge and others will diverge, right? And so it can get you thinking more creatively. All right, I'm going to show you another tool or idea. Let's start. So this is, so Google uses a similar design process that we were talking about in class here. Our process, of course, we've got a couple of different ones based on the Stanford Design School and what IDEO does. And so Google does another one. And so this is an example of something they call a design sprint. So in 1 week, basically, they go from beginning to end of their design. So it's a pretty intense thing. You guys are doing a design sprint in a way, but over the course of a semester. So let's see how they do things. Okay. So they did this, right? They did this design process. Sounds a lot like what you guys right? Understanding your customer, diverge as brainstorming part of the iterations as you're doing helps you diverge, and then you decide what it is that you're going to do to move forward. Then you make your prototype. That's kind of the next thing on the horizon for you. And then you go back and validate with your users to see, is this going to work or not? Right? So just because you did your user stuff right away for defining the problem, you're always going to come back to that, right? Iteration is an important part of what you do. And they did this all in 5 days, and we're going to take a little bit longer, but it's the same type of process, and it's something that you can use. This is a skill and a technique you can use in all kinds of things, and the jobs that you have later. So this is, I think, really good for them. Okay, another, let's see, another thing I want to show you is something called the this is based on something that they do for A/B testing. You've heard how they do testing for what's best on a website, like Facebook does A/B testing. They'll basically create two different versions of something, just a slight version, and they'll get data from users to see, well, which one do people prefer, and then they'll make the changes to that preferred. So they use a massive amount of data to help them decide what to do. Well, this is something you guys can do too. So UX stands for user experience. So you think about what kinds of things are important to the user. So you can use this HEART framework. This is an acronym for happiness, engagement, adoption, retention, task success. And then you measure, well, what is, first of all, you decide, well, what is the goal that you want? So you guys, for instance, storyboarded kind of what is the outcome of what your solution is going to be. And maybe it is related to this, right? Is it just plain happiness that they succeeded, they're now happy that they have a good classroom design that they can learn and whatnot. But maybe there's these aspects too. So how engaged are students in the classroom? How engaged are students who use that map, right, or that app or whatever? Do they adopt it? Are they carrying that around in their pockets now? Are they, does it get adopted by the design? Retention, how long does it last? So for the scuff prevention, that's going to be a key thing, right? Task success, does it allow the person to actually complete the tasks that they want? So in the case of the dog retrieval, maybe that one would be. So what you do is you choose one or two of these to focus on. You create a goal, and then you find out some metrics that help you be able to know when that is achieved. So, so how would you know? How would you know if people were happy with your classroom design? And how would you know that? By asking it, and how would you ask it? Like what's that? Survey? Yeah, survey, something like that. Maybe it's after class or something like that. So you can design actually a survey that helps to understand what that is. If it's retention, then you would, for the scuff prevention, which is kind of a durability thing, how would you determine that? I guess that would be maybe part of the testing, right? So you could decide, I don't know, run something that rubs on on your thing that you have, and then you see how long does that last, and maybe you can somehow, maybe there's something that translates that into how long or how many times you could move it back and forth, or there's something like that, right? So this can be a useful thing to use for. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a video of IDEO in action, and what their goal is to make a shopping cart, a better shopping cart. So what I want you to do as you're watching this, has anybody seen that before? Good, well, good. But what I want you to do is think about how closely that matches what it is that you are doing. And I'm going to kind of stop it along the way, kind of point some things